If you're in your teens and you're worried that people of your own age don't like you, probably even for a specific relationship purpose. See, the teens are not by far the best time to actually have a relationship. See, in the moment of the teens, usually people think way too much with their own hormones, and more or less they tend to have a sexual perspective on life. And this also implies that when you're looking at other people and when other people look at you, isn't it true that in most situations it is only a superficial look? And it is basically called a look because most people will take you only by face value, whether they like your physical appearance or not. And well, most likely some other, physical aspects, especially if you're a female. So if such people don't like you for whatever reason, that reason is in their head. The way they view you on a physical level, right, on the aspect of physiognomy, that is their own interpretation. Even if a few dozen of such people don't like you at that age, don't worry much. You still have a lot of life ahead of you, right? In your teens, you barely have touched any life, especially these new generations that seem to be raised with technology as close as possible. But if you listen closely to the word, and well, if especially if it is used in an ignorant way, it hasn't been called technology for nothing, right? It's a bit of take knowledge from you, right? And the point is, well, it's not taking any knowledge from you, but the point is, technology can make you dumber if you're allowing to be used by the tool instead of using the tool, right? So, most people who only live at a sexual level are basically superficial because the sexual level is the basic principle, the basic level of existence for any animal, including us, because, well, we shouldn't ever be ashamed of calling ourselves animals in the first place. And when it comes to you, whether people don't like something, don't take their real interpretation for what you might think about them. You haven't gotten in their minds. Most people simply just walk away and they don't tell you whether they don't like you. I mean, especially if they haven't tried you in bed, they can't say that, well, you're not good at it, right? Or usually it's about girls' breasts because that's most likely the easiest part to simply interpret based on what you can visually see. But whatever lies they might have, the point is many people actually have a low self-esteem. Girls included, boys included. And well, people, especially if they are superficial, they are afraid of their own emotions because emotions make them feel, and many people are afraid of actually feeling anything, right? That's why they do drugs, they do all sorts of uh, activities that simply disconnect them from, well, experiencing life. To many superficial people, well, superficiality means the level of sex, so most of those people will simply feel as if the more people you fuck, the more you actually feel life. Well, in a way it is true and in a way it is false. See, sexual energy is basically. So the point is, sexual energy is by far the, well, like any other energy of the body actually, it is easy to simply share, okay? Sex is a acronym which is the short form of sexual energy exchange. When sex occurs, two bodies rub one another and, well, being so close one to the other, it is the easiest and the best way to also share energies one with the other. So the point is, be careful whom you're sharing your energies because you might have much better energies than the others. And if you're sharing your energies with frustrated people, right, especially in the case of prostitutes, see, the point is, many of their clients actually come to them very frustrated, right? You don't see, chivalrous people going to prostitutes because the higher your energy, you don't want to go there because not because you might not like how those women look or how they might behave. Those women might be chivalrous as well, but having so much contact with all sorts of frustrated men simply has them draw on their energies as well, basically being a bank of all the energies or, well, a lot of the energies of each man they have been with, right? And it's the case of people who have had a lot of sexual intercourses. Now, obviously, this is a way of experiencing life at a very primitive and basic level, nonetheless, but it is a way of experiencing life. However, if one wants to experience life beyond this physicality, well, sex is definitely the opposite way to go. Because you don't want other people's memories, right? Because their energy is memory, after all. You don't want other people's memories in your body, right? You want to have as light of a body as possible. So you basically want to stay as far away from other people's energy as possible. That's why you see a lot of wise people usually migrating towards rural areas, places where there are a lot of green spaces and places where you can actually plant your feet, or, well, where you can actually enjoy a lot of silence. See, this matricial society hasn't been built to allow you to persevere in wisdom. It's been built to be specifically noisy and to keep your mind crowded with all sorts of noise, specifically so that you can't become introspective. Because in order to be of an introspective nature, the mind needs to be quite oftenly, well, not silenced, but you need to learn how to ignore the mind, right? You need to let all those words, irrespective of how juicy they are, you need to let them flow. That is why, if some people simply don't like your looks, just let them be. Most people in this world are simply, well, miserable, and they wouldn't do anything, right, to improve their life. So would you really be wasting your time with such people? Anyone who's miserable, obviously they will also see you as miserable, so they will simply ditch you, right? At the same time, most people don't feel like, investing time in other people, because even now, youngsters learn from their ignorant parents, this rat race principle, right? Rush to reach nowhere. And it's a bit sad because they rush to reach nowhere, and it's like they don't have time for anyone, but they're not doing anything at the same time, right? So, all this being said, don't simply mind it if people don't like you, right? Their opinion of how you look is their own, right? We perceive 1% of the, well, actually less than 1% of the visual light spectrum. So we're basically blind. How we see things is not reality as is, right? We see and perceive this reality through our own senses, but our own senses are limited in their own way. That's why the ancients called this the Maya, right? The dream, because it's not unreal, right? Many people who misinterpret the term Maya say that all this world is nothing but a simulation. It is not a simulation. Go and punch anyone who believes that. Go and punch them in the face and tell them, no, don't worry about the pain. It's all a simulation, right? This reality is real as is. Each and every experience that you have, be it, let's call it otherworldly or mundane, each experience is real. But the point is, the way we perceive things is completely different from reality. See, if you see a certain object of a certain pattern of colors, well, other beings will perceive it in a completely different way, right? Bees, for example, see in ultraviolet, right? Other animals, let's say a device, for example, records only infrared. So the output, right, the visual output will be completely different, right? This also differs from different animals. A bat, for example, doesn't see or is completely blind. I don't remember. But they perceive everything in sounds. So their world looks completely different. Technically, for each and every living being, the world is more or less an illusion, right? Not an illusion, but more or less a dream. So, at the same time, you're also inflicted by another dream, right? The dream of hormones, right? At a special age, especially at a fresh one, it's easy to get hijacked by, a burst of those hormones. And as I've been saying, it is preferable to not have, a complex relationship, right? What people call nowadays a relationship, right? A girl-boyfriend relationship, right? Or same-sex relationships, if you want. It's basically the same thing. Whoever you fuck, you exchange energies with. It doesn't matter what gender they have. And the point is, see, it is better to have such, more advanced relationships beyond the age of 25. Beyond that age is when the brain fully develops and, well, actually finishes the development of the emotional side. That is why adolescents are somewhat harder to keep under a certain balance, right? Their emotions are wishy-washy. They're still superficial. They don't know what they want. They want, but they don't want. You know, as a teen, you most likely understand this. So having socialization aspects, right? Having relationships with some people is never a bad thing. Learning about other people's likes and dislikes and this and that always helps you become more knowledgeable on people, and having an easier time learning, well, other people as they come and live in your life. But the point is, more advanced relationships should be, from a certain age when you feel a bit more, you know, let's call it when you feel more emotionally mature. Now, yes, a lot of people don't become mature because they choose not to become, or in some people's cases, they are so intoxicated with toxic behaviors that, well, it's almost impossible for them to cure that. Well, it's never impossible, but it might take a long time. And usually, the more miserable someone becomes, the less likely they are to, cure themselves. So all this being said, well, take care, and all I can say is enjoy life, become more introspective, and don't let other people's opinions of you, well, pull you down. Always lend a ear to know what people think of you, but don't take that as, don't take it as something bad, okay? Some people will have bad things, some people will have good things to tell about you. It is always good to listen to both, because if you only listen to one, you'll either victimize if you only listen to the negative, or you'll either become a bit narcissistic if you can't stand the negative and you only listen to the positive. That's why a balance is always a good thing. All this being said, you are appreciated, take care, enjoy life, stay awesome, and live bright. The Ranger Board signing out.